Good morning, children. So yesterday we left at endonucleases. We have we have done most of the enzymes. Out of that, the last enzyme, which are which are endonucleases, and which comes in the topic nucleases, we are going to do that. Till now, we have done lysing enzymes, we have done alkaline phosphatase, we have done ligases, phosphorylases, etc. So now we come on to the fourth one, which is nucleases. These are, divided into two types: exonucleases and endonucleases. And exonucleases basically they cut. Nucleases are used to cut the DNA, the genetic material. They cut at both the ends. They cut the DNA at the ends, and they cut within the DNA. They make cuts within the DNA. So we are going to deal with this endonucleases. As I have already told you that it was seen that in prokaryotic cell, these endonucleases, these are present in two sets, two complex sets, these are present, and they make the cutting enzymes, the defending enzymes in prokaryotic cells, they are in two complex sets. That means this particular enzyme is present in two groups, and one was methylated agent and the second was endonuclease. Now, what is the function of this methylated agent and this endonuclease? I was telling you yesterday, if suppose we have a bacterial cell and this bacterial cell is attacked by a virus. So what goes in is its genetic material. Now, the cell has its own DNA also, own genetic material also, like suppose this is the own genetic material of this bacterial cell, and this is the genetic material which is inserted in by the bacteriophage. This is a bacteriophage. This is bacterial, this is a bacteriophage. And this is a bacterial cell. Now, the bacteriophages are basically virus, this you all know. Viruses which attack bacteria are bacteriophages. So when this virus, which is a bacteriophage, when it attacks a bacteria, in that case only the genetic material is injected in. Now, as I told you that there is something to fight against it in them, and that is this, the complex system which has, or the restriction endonuclease. This restriction endonuclease has two things. One is methylated agent is present, and also endonuclease is present. Both are present. Now, how will they help the bacterial cell? This endonuclease will cut the genetic material of the bacteriophage. Now, suppose, as you know, these endonucleases, they have given the name restriction endonucleases. Why have they given this name restriction endonucleases? They are given this name restriction endonucleases because they cut the genetic material at a particular site. They cut the genetic material at a particular site. That is why the name restriction endonuclease is given. So the name here is given restriction endonuclease because they cut it at a particular site. They cut the genetic material at a particular site. Now, by site, what do we mean? By site, we mean in between any two nitrogenous bases. Now, suppose the endonuclease, which is present in this bacterial cell, it has the ability to cut the genetic material at C, between C and G. It can cut the genetic material between C and G. That means where C and G will be present, it will cut it there. Now, this bacteriophage, the genetic material of bacteriophage has C and G here. This is C and this is G. But together with the bacteriophage DNA, the same nitrogenous bases are present on the bacterial own DNA also. Suppose this is one C and G present here, and this is one C and G present here. That means bacterial cells own DNA also has C and G. Now, this endonuclease, which is present in bacterial cell, it will not be able to differentiate between C and G of the virus of the bacteriophage and the C and G of its own DNA. It will not be able to differentiate because C and G is same, whether it is present in a virus or it is present in a bacteria, it's same. So this endonuclease, whose function is to cut the DNA at C and between C and G, will not be able to differentiate between the enemy's DNA and its own DNA. It can cut here and it can cut here also. It can cut its own DNA also, and along with the enemy's DNA. It can cut its own DNA also. So that will be little trouble for the bacteria, not little, its DNA will be cut. So that is not something which is in favor of bacteria. So they developed a certain thing in them. Certain adaptation was developed in them, and what was that? This endonuclease, which is present in bacteria, it has the ability to cut the DNA between C and G. Now, to protect its own DNA to get cut by the endonuclease, this methylated agent is used. How this methylated agent helps? This methylated agent adds methyl group to any of these. Say guanine. So one methyl group is added. One methyl group is added to by the methylated agent. Now, this endonuclease has the ability to cut between cytosine and guanine, but it does not have the ability to cut between methylated guanine and cytosine. So now it has become different. Now, when the endonuclease will act, it will cut only the DNA of the enemy. It will cut the DNA of only the bacteriophage, not the DNA of its own. So its own DNA is now protected after being methylated by the methylating agent which is present in the bacterial cell. So this is how the bacterial cell itself protects its own DNA from getting cut by restriction endonuclease. Okay, now beta, is it clear, or shall I repeat something in this? Yes, bache, is it clear, or shall I repeat something in the process? Yes, bache. Any query in this? Yes. Clear. Okay, clear. Fine, fine. So beta, this is what is done. Now, there is a term known as palindromic sequence, if you have heard. There is a term palindromic sequence. Palindromic sequence means from both the side, it is same. The word is same. Like there is a word Malayalam. Malayalam. So if you read it from this side or you read it from this side, it's the same. Okay, Malayalam. It's a palindromic sequence. Now, the endonucleases, they make cuts in the palindromic nucleotide sequence. Mostly the cut is made in the palindromic nucleotide sequence. Like one sequence we are talking about DNA, which is a double-stranded material. So we have, suppose here, GAATTC. Suppose we have GAATTC. And this is the first strand, which is 5 prime, 3 prime, another strand will be opposite to it. It will be 3 prime and 5 prime. And what it will have? It will have C, T, T, A, G. So this is palindromic sequence. If you go from any side, it's the same. This is a palindromic sequence. The endonucleases, they make cut in these palindromic sequence. Suppose, and why these are known as restriction endonucleases? Because there are specific endonucleases which makes cut at a specific site. Some make between ANA, some make cuts between GA, some makes cut between TT, some TC. So they have specific sites, and at that specific sites in the palindromic nucleotide sequence, they make cut. Suppose we have a restriction endonuclease which makes cut here, which makes cut here. So what will happen as a result? As a result of this cut which is made by restriction endonuclease, we will get a nucleotide like this, a sequence like this, where we will have, see, now this is 3 prime, this is 5 prime, this is 3 prime, this is 5 prime. And in another, we will have C, T, T, A here, and then a cut has been made. So we will have G here. And it is 5 prime, 3 prime, 5 prime. And this is what we will have after the cut has been made by the endonuclease. This way, what have we got here? What have we got here? This way, we have got the sticky ends. These ends which are formed here are known as sticky ends. These ends are known as sticky ends. These ends are known as sticky ends. We call them sticky ends. And here we can join our desired gene. And these sticky ends, these are formed by breaking of two types of bonds. Number one, phosphodiester bond, and number two, hydrogen bond. So these after breakage they form these sticky ends, and here that can be joined. The desired gene can be joined by the help of ligases. So this is how the restriction endonuclease helps in the formation of sticky ends. Now one more type may happen or happen sometimes, and that is also in the palindromic sequence, where these sticky ends are not formed, but something else is formed. Here, what happens that, suppose we have this sequence G, 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 T, T, T. And what we will have in another one we will have C, 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 A, A, 5 prime, 3 prime, 3 prime, 5 prime. This is here. Now suppose the restriction endonuclease, it cuts it here. It is cut here. Now as a result of this, what we are going to get? We are going to get this G, 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 and C, C, C. And here E, 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 and another one A, A, A. This is what we get. These ends thus form, this cut end thus form. These are known as blunt ends. And these are formed by the breaking of just one type of bond. Breaking of just one type of bond. And that one type of bond which is broken is phosphodiester bond. In this case, the hydrogen bonds are not broken. The hydrogen bonds remains there, only phosphodiester bonds are broken. These are not considered better for the insertion or introduction of the desired gene as compared to sticky ends. Sticky ends are considered to be better for introduction or insertion of the desired gene. So these restriction endonucleases forms the nucleotide sequence of two types. One have sticky ends and another have blunt ends. So here, now how to name these restriction endonucleases, that I'm going to tell you now. Restriction endonucleases, the various examples are ECOR1. This is one endonuclease, ECOR1. Then we have HIND. This is another example of restriction endonuclease. HIND1. We have HIND, HIND2. I have given here 2-3 examples of restriction endonucleases. What are these? How to name these restriction endonucleases? When we name our restriction endonucleases, basically these endonucleases are obtained from prokaryotic cells. These are plasmids. So these restriction endonucleases, when we name them, the first letter, it comes from the genus. First letter comes from the genus. The second and third letter. Okay, second and third letter, which is third letter, it comes from the species. Okay, then we have the strain. The fourth letter is the strain. Which strain is that? Okay, then we have the number, then we will have any number which tells the sequence of their discovery. Sequence of their discovery. This is how we name it. This is how we name a restriction enzyme. Restriction endonuclease or an endonuclease. This is how we name. The first letter, like here E, it's a genus. CO, the second and third, CO are species. The fourth one, R, is a strain. This is capital here, not small. Here it is capital. Okay, and then we have number, like here it is 1. So ECOR 1 is the sequence in which it is discovered. That means ECOR1 was the first endonuclease which was discovered from Escherichia coli. Like here, for naming it, it has been obtained from the bacteria Escherichia coli. And its strain was RY13. This was the strain RY13. Now, how did we name it? In this, to name it, we have taken E from Escherichia. We have taken CO from coli. This R is the strain, and as this was the first one to be discovered, we have written I. So this is E Escherichia coli. From Escherichia coli we have discovered. E has come from the genus, then CO from the species, R is the strain, and this is the one on the number 1 is the sequence in which it was discovered. There is no need of this hyphen which I have put, it should be there. Then we have another one. This is HIND1 and HIND2. Let me tell you one thing. HIND2 was the first isolated endonuclease. First isolated endonuclease, that means it was the endonuclease which was isolated first of all, although it is HIND2, but it is the endonuclease which was isolated first. But the first discovered endonuclease, it was this first discovered endonuclease. This was the first discovered endonuclease, and HIND2 was the first isolated endonuclease. Now, how the name was given? HIND2. Here, the microorganism which was used, the bacteria which was used, that was Haemophilus influenzae. Haemophilus influenzae. Okay, and its strain was RD. This was the strain RD. Okay, the name was Haemophilus influenzae and the strain was RD, capital R, small d. Now here, how did they take it? How the name was given? H is Haemophilus. From Haemophilus, H has come. From influenza, IN has come. But from the strain, they could not take R because R was already taken up by ECOR1. R was already used here. So they had to use some other name, some other term, some other alphabet for this plasmid, for this endonuclease. So they took the second one, and the second one was D. So from the strain RD, R was not taken, but the second letter, which was small, it was taken. So it made it HIND, hence, and the number of discovery on the basis of that 1, or it was given 2. This is how the naming of the endonucleases took place. So second one was Haemophilus influenza RD. RD is a strain because they have already used R somewhere. So they did not use R, they used D of that. Okay, and the name came to be HIND1 and HIND2. HIND, HIND2 was the first isolated endonuclease, and HIND1 was the first discovered endonuclease. So children, here we finish up with the endonucleases. We are going to take up the vectors now. So I think the time is over. Do you have class? Yes, children, do you have your class? Yes, beta. Do you have your class or any class you have now? I'm not getting your response. Okay, okay. Yes, you can leave for the class. It's okay, beta.